Welcome to the Desert Lair, episode 2. I'm Dustin, functional misanthrope. Dillon's here. He's a mostly functional nerd. I think we'll keep going with those intros. What do you think?
Sure.
Whatever. Some housekeeping before we get started, I guess. We took a week off. Bar's under some renovations. We were having the floor done last weekend, so it didn't really make sense. Everything's all kind of torn apart. I still want to try and do these weekly. That's kind of the goal. We'll try and keep on track with that. The bar is still under renovation. There's still some things going on. I put a light in the back corner back there and some other things. Trim that I'll eventually finish one day. First episode was a little rough, especially in the editing department.
Sound like we made any sort of like illusion about that.
Yeah, for sure. We used many, many filler words. I suspect we're still going to. We just need to try and dial it back a little bit. Maybe not before every sentence. What we need to do is channel our inner William Shatner. So if we just talk with long dramatic pauses, it's easier to edit out the long pause than a bunch of intertwined, like, yeah, hey, I mean, if we just take a little bit longer and try and take our time a smidge more, that will help out a little bit. I don't know if I'll completely edit out everything this time around or most of it. I might leave some more of it in. I get a little OCD. The first one was hacked up pretty good. By the extras that I posted, I think it's pretty clear.
It was genuinely hilarious.
Yeah. It was hilarious to listen to, except if you were editing and then it was not so hilarious. It was like atrocious. We'll try and do better. I will try and get around to posting the whiskey review this time around. Probably not that anyone listening to this cares, but I'll do that. News. Wanted to start with a couple things that were not entertainment media related per se. Did you see this CERN doing the Proto Dune neutrino detector thing?
I did not see that.
So the only thing that was kind of interesting to me was just how it looked. Really, it's this giant golden gridded out room. It's like super neat looking. It looks like something out of science fiction. Be interesting to see how much it cost for them to build this monstrosity. Some astronomical amount of money that they spent on this thing.
Cutting edge science ain't cheap, yo.
Yeah, for sure. But it looks really neat, though. That's what's important. It's the most important thing. It looks really cool. The other thing, I think we already talked about this, but that 100-year-old woman working at Home Depot.
I found that crazy.
I mean, she looks really great. What I thought was funny is she's a breast cancer survivor, has emphysema, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and a pacemaker. But she says everything else works. I don't think she's going to go into the grave short of a nuclear blast. I hope she lives to 150. Good luck.
Yeah, I can't imagine the medical bills for after all that you just said.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up to work. Good job. Gaming. Nvidia announced new cards. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
The 50 series.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a 4090 at MSRP when it came out, so I got lucky. I think they're like way above MSRP right now.
I got a 4070 at MSRP, so it was fine.
Yeah, you bought yours a little later, right? Somewhat recently, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in upgrading. I'll probably wait another cycle at least, and then, I don't know. I should probably try and sell mine, to partially fund another one, but that never happens, so maybe I'll just tier it down to one of the other 4 computers that I have.
Little OCD with
They announced the Nintendo Switch 2. Did you see that?
Yeah, but I mean, I've never had a Switch, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, they officially launched it. I think they leaked a bunch of stuff beforehand. They launched it, and it's like, I don't know. It seems like everyone's like, there's no surprises. There's no nothing. It's like, all right, well, did they need to surprise anybody? Like, it's the next generation. They got to consoles are computers now. They have to keep up with hardware at this point. Otherwise, you're going to become irrelevant pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's how much games in development goes.
I'll eventually buy pretty much all the consoles for the most part. Xbox is the only thing I don't really buy anymore because you can just, like, everything that's Xbox now is computer, right? So there's mostly no point.
Yeah, I'm PC Master Race all the way.
Yeah, you own what, a PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I own all the consoles except for maybe the newest PlayStation and Xboxes, but I'll eventually buy it. Nintendo makes, good first-party games. They always have. So most of those are worth playing, and you're only going to play them on Nintendo for the most part. Although maybe Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are on... No, I don't think they're on computer, right? No.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, maybe just through emulator, which Nintendo viciously tries to shut down generally.
Hurts their sales.
Yeah. Did you see Genshin Impact Developer agrees to pay $20 million fine over loot boxes?
Yeah, I mean, especially that type of game where you probably make close to $1 billion or whatever with all those freaking loot boxes. What's like 20 million off? Who cares?
How scummy and horrible are you as a corporation that you're like, hey, all these other companies are having problems with these loot boxes. They're getting in trouble or, there's legislation, but let's see how far we can push it. Let's push it to the very edge and try and get children hooked on gambling.
I mean, certain senators tried to get it regulated, but it's not exactly the same. But
Yeah.
it's really murky. But I don't know. It's just as long as there's profit to be made, people will figure it out a way to do it.
Yeah, I think I saw, so they have to pay $20 million and they have to stop selling loot boxes to children under 16 without parental permission or something like that. It's, when you have kids involved, I get it. It's just stop being scumbags, guys. These are the same people who, if allowed to, would sell cigarettes to children. You know what I mean? They're these kind of scumbags.
Yeah, again, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake.
Is it going to be remake or remaster? Those are two different things.
I think it's actually a remake, I thought is what I saw. Or at least the rumor is that it's going to be like Unreal Engine remake, not just a remaster.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting, but I mean, I have to assume they'll figure out some way to do some scummy microtransactions or something like that.
Think so?
I don't know.
Because all those games, the community mods are basically, invalidate, in a way, a lot of the microtransactions.
Skyrim has been updating new mods or whatever you get to pay for a long time now.
Officially? Like Bethesda officially has?
Yeah, part of their official store. You have to mod creators from Nexus will actually make the mod, but then they'll pretty much buy the rights to it and then they'll sell it on their store.
Oh, so almost like DLC then.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know this. Interesting. Well, I mean, I'm sure it will probably go the same way as that then, more or less.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still plenty of free community stuff, so it's nice.
Yeah, and a lot of the community stuff is really good too. I mean, it's something I want to say that I'll play, but at the same time, I got a million other things that, I need to play. So am I going to replay Oblivion Remake? Probably not.
I'm still waiting for Sky Oblivion in Skyrim, so.
Yeah, I mean, if they do a remake of it, then maybe we don't need the one where they do the Sky Oblivion or whatever.
I want to say those people have been working on it for a decade. They're not going to quit now.
I mean, if, Bethesda comes in and makes a whole brand new game and it's better than what they could make, maybe they abandon it.
I don't know. I feel like it's too far invested now.
Yeah, they're too far along to give it up. Another one you probably don't care about, but I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
I think I played one Donkey Kong game. That was it.
So I grew up on platformers, right? I started playing original Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers. This is kind of the house that Mario built. So platformers, including Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo, right? and all the platformers, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, whatever. I played all of those. I like all of those. I still play platformer games. Not often, but I like them. Did you ever beat or finish any platformer game?
I think one or two, yeah, but I mean, mostly just the gameplay loop gets boring to me, and I just stop playing it.
Yeah, you were never big into platformers, and you kind of came into gaming at a time when there were there were quite a few games outside of that.
Yeah, Sega Genesis. That was my first console.
So, well, I mean, that would have been like Sonic the Hedgehog, right?
Yeah, we have played those.
What games did you play for Sega Genesis?
Spider-Man Carnage.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. I remember now. I remember that game. Yeah, I like platformer games. I just thought that was kind of interesting. They still exist. I don't play a lot of them. Just I don't have that much time anymore to play every single thing or really much of anything these days that comes out. There was another random one here. Oh, the joy of programming.
Yeah, as someone who's taken classes in college for programming, it's not that joyful.
So I did think this one was kind of interesting. I guess it said you program in Python or whatever. I have no idea about any programming language.
It just depends how it's set up. Certain ones are very rigid, and Python is one of the ones that's a little more open.
So it looked like, I assume it would be basic programming, but it looked like it's a video game, so you have to use programming to like make certain scenarios, like program a track for a car, or make like a conveyor belt do a specific thing. So it's like it has a video game element to it. So I thought it was kind of unique.
Yeah, I guess in the game it makes it a little more interesting, but I mean, coding in general is like you have to have a very certain mindset to do that because it just gets a little daunting looking at thousands of lines of code all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting concept, I guess, but I mean, who is this for exactly? Like people who want to learn programming, people who already know programming, and just like, seems like a very niche game to play. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the second in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. I'll just wait until all three of those games come out in order to play them. I'm not going to play 1/3 of a story and then wait however many years and then play another third of a story and then I don't want to do that. Just give me all three goddamn games.
I mean, I guess it's just a way to earn money by splitting apart. Plus, I mean, it gives people a sense of progress of like, okay, hey, they are working on this. It's not going to be just all at once, way, way later down the line. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long those games are, but just give me one complete game, please. And then I'll play that. The Final Fantasy games, obviously 7 through 10 are some of my favorite games. You never got into the JRPGs, right?
no, it's not really my thing.
You're more of the Western RPG, which I like those too, obviously. But yeah, 7 through 10, Final Fantasy 7 is one of the first RPGs that I played in the series. I didn't play the Super Nintendo ones first, like a lot of people did. I played 7 first on the original PlayStation with the giant block people.
Hey, that was like pretty good for like when it came out.
Well, it's just funny, right? Because they released FMVs or whatever of the cutscenes and stuff. You're like, this looks awesome. And then you play it and you're like, what the fuck is this thing? But it's charming, right? It's charming. It's neat. I still like those games. I still have the originals, on PlayStation. Sony, I guess they're releasing The Last of Us Part 2 remastered on PC, which is a single-player game, and they've said you will have to have a PlayStation Network account to play on Steam.
Yeah, they're trying to do that for all their games. There's a couple games that didn't have that originally, and then they added that, and like millions of people couldn't play the game anymore because they don't have access to PlayStation Network where they live. That's one of those things I think it's like, well, wouldn't you want to give it to more people so you get more money? Isn't that the point? But I was like, I don't know exactly what their goal is with that.
Yeah, I think I read there's 73 countries where, PlayStation Network is, and then there's 100 countries where they're not. No, I mean, I'm sure most of it, most of their sales would come from the company or the countries where they have PlayStation Network, but still they're saying it before they open it, right? They're not trying to do a Helldivers 2 where they release the game, everyone signs up, they're playing it, and then they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you need to create an account or you can't play the game that you bought. It's like, hey, Sony, fuck you, man.
Yeah, that was pretty underhanded, and it's just like you can't even play a game that you bought. Like, what's the point of this? Like,
I assume they probably, got refunds on all those. Just if you're going to release a game on Steam, don't add an additional layer of some kind of service that I need to sign up for.
what was it, like 5 years ago, where every single game company had to launch their individual launcher? That was getting insane level.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at a point where, first of all, if it's a single player game and it's not a console exclusive, so it's on PC, and it's not on good old games, there's not even a hint of a chance I would consider buying it. And in addition to that, if it's any kind of live service game, I'm only buying it on Steam. So if you have a game that you've released on any other platform other than Steam, the answer is no.
Yeah, Steam is just such a titan now. It's just like, why other companies have tried and completely failed to try and do their own thing when they realize it's like everyone wants to have Steam. That's where it started and that's where their library is, and they want to have it in one place rather than 6 different places.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, listen, if you've come out with a platform that has a UI that's better than Steam, has more features than Steam, and it is better in every single conceivable way than Steam, then we can talk. We can have that conversation, right? We can think about it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in a very long time.
Yeah, no one, Steam's just been around too long. For better or for worse, they're the king. I don't think anyone's going to invest the resources that it's going to take to create something significantly better than Steam. And if that's the case, if you're not going to release your game on Steam, fuck off.
Yeah, Epic Games knew they couldn't beat it Steam in that way, so they just like, well, hey, if you do it exclusively on our Epic Games Store and not on Steam for a year, we'll give you a bigger cut, which to the developer is great, but for gamers, it's just like, ugh.
Well, it's good for developers, assuming that they're going to sell the same number of copies or more, to make up for the difference. So if their game isn't on Steam and they're making more money from sales, but they're selling a considerable amount less, then, they have to weigh that out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to predict exactly how many you're going to sell.
Either way, I hope you completely and utterly fail, if that's what your plan is. Crash and burn. Did you see anything that caught your eye or was interesting?
No, some drama about streamers, but nothing else really.
Yeah, we could talk about the drama about streamers.
First, there was the one with Asmongold and Elon Musk, which I just find utterly ridiculous, but...
So here's my take on that. I don't really watch any streamers. It's not a thing for me. Elon Musk has delusions of grandeur at this point. He's an incredibly smart guy. He's built extremely successful companies. He's extremely wealthy, the wealthiest man, or, bounces between the top 3 or something like that. I think he's let all of that go to his head. So despite the fact that he's famous and wealthy, he is a narcissistic megalomaniac who has delusions of grandeur about being the greatest person on earth, it seems like.
Yeah, I feel like his ego has gone to his head.
Yeah, I mean, his ego is so big that he's paid someone to play his account to build up a character and then trying to pass it off as his own.
Yeah, and any sort of real person in the game who's actually tried to play it hardcore, it's just, it's very hard and takes a long amount of time to get that high.
Well, that's the crazy thing too. He's so out of touch with reality in terms of video gaming. He has no idea what it would actually take, or it didn't cross his mind that people are easily going to be able to figure this out and call you out on it.
Someone brought up a point of maybe he did this in Diablo 4, but it was such an easy game, no one noticed. Whereas Path of Exile 2, especially higher level, it's very hard, and you actually have to be very good at the game not to die randomly.
He obviously has so little knowledge of gaming or this game, and he's so out of touch with reality that nothing crossed his mind that, hey, someone is probably going to figure this out and call me out on it. I don't know, how pathetic are you that, like, you have nothing to prove, dude. Why are, what is even the point? I just think Elon Musk fame's gone to his head. He needs to dial it back a little bit.
To get there in the first place, you already have to have a certain level of ego to begin with, and I just feel like,
Well, sure, it's a personality type, but you're a smart dude. Dial it back. Come back to reality, Elon. You're not on Mars yet, dude.
and then there was this thing with Pirate Software and some drama with World of Warcraft, and the main point was it just other streamers have done something similar to him, but for whatever reason, people just really don't like that guy, or just wanted to make a point about you're not infallible and you do make mistakes along with the rest of us. It was just crazy level how much it got out of proportion with what would actually happened. The other guildmates of his wanted him to just apologize and take a share of his responsibility for what happened. And he let his ego and his pride get in the way of just, saying, I'm sorry, it was my mistake. Like, I panicked a little bit. I shouldn't have. And it escalated to the point of, like, people sending, like, a bunch of hate raids. Well, a couple people did. Sending hate raids at his channel and just being hateful and sending death threats to the man over a video game death. Like,
I mean, none of this is surprising, I guess. Like, this is the internet. Welcome. People are serious business about gaming, and young children, kids are immature and do dumb shit, and they don't realize that sending death threats to people is against the law. It can get you in a lot of trouble, and it's a pretty stupid thing to do, despite the fact that you don't like someone. The other thing, all of this stuff, in my opinion, is about a step above reality TV. Mainly because it's not produced like reality TV, but that's what it strikes me as. These are a bunch of fucking video gamers, man. I don't care about their video game drama at all. Like,
I just stumbled upon it. Like, I wasn't really looking for that. I was just watching the guy stream, and it just happened while I was watching, and it was just like, it blew way out of proportion. Like, I just like, oh, like, whatever. Like, he got people killed, not a big deal. And then, like, a day later, I was just like, no one's letting this go. Like, it's going further. And then the next day, it got even bigger.
reality TV for gamers. It's what this is. I mean, whatever. People like it. It's cool. Not my thing.
I don't know. There's a reason why drama television is so popular. Is because people love drama.
Yeah, I like well-written drama that's imaginary, not real drama over a video game. To each their own. Anything else?
No, not really.
Movies. I saw that David Lynch died. Do you even know who David Lynch is?
No, maybe if I saw a picture, I'd know who it was, but
Yeah, probably not. So he's made a bunch of famous movies for sure. I would call them more arty, like movie nerd type movies for those kinds of people. They're not, I mean, some of them were probably in theaters, but they're probably not movies that most people are going to see. And like, they're very surreal, dreamlike quality. And a lot of his movies, they're the kind of movies that you watch and you're like, I have no idea what in the fuck just happened. Like what, he leaves them open to interpretation and stuff. So some of the movies he's done, Eraserhead.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. That's my favorite. That's kind of his first big one. That's my favorite of his movies. I've seen most of David Lynch's movies, if not, maybe not all of them, but probably close to all of them. I like all of them. Eraserhead's the best. He did the original 80s? I'll have to look that up. But he did the original Dune movie.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you've watched that, have you?
I think I watched it once when I was like a teenager, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time.
It's not good. It's interesting. It's not good. But he did the original Dune. He did one called Blue Velvet, Lost Highway. Mulholland Drive is probably his most famous movie. I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but that's definitely the one that everyone would know the most, I think. And it's probably that's one of the ones that's the most, you watch it and you're like, what did I just watch? It's a movie they're going to show you in film school, that kind of things. The other, Inland Empire, there's a couple other ones. I thought about maybe we should do a David Lynch movie next. The problem with that is I think we need to do a whole David Lynch series, basically, not just one movie, because that's, he's got a lot of movies. So maybe we'll save that for another time. I did also see they're releasing Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
Was it like a horror movie of Peter Pan?
Yes. So you were telling me about the Winnie the Pooh.
Those were utterly ridiculous, but yeah.
Maybe we should watch one. You've watched those. I haven't watched those yet. They're
The horror movie Winnie the Pooh ones were just like so ridiculous. It was funny. It was just like it wasn't actually a good movie. It was just watching Winnie the Pooh and like be a serial killer was just like what?
So this is definitely going to be a thing. We're going to see more of these movies. Those ones were popular enough, right? They didn't make a whole bunch of money, but the budget for the Winnie the Pooh movie, I think, was like 50,000 or something, and they made 5 million. So it was successful, I guess.
Oh, but yeah, I feel like it was just more of this shock factor of like, yep, let's take a character, let's get more geared towards children and make it to the extreme level of adult.
The most sweet, non-threatening character you can think of and turn him into a murderer.
Yeah, and it makes it worse because like it's not just killing them; it does it in a very, very gruesome way.
So I assume the Peter Pan movie is going to be something similar to that.
I might watch just for the shock, like and just if it's so stupid, it's funny.
Yeah, I mean those are fun movies to watch. So I'll probably eventually watch it. I should watch the Winnie the Pooh ones. TV shows, I'm super far behind on everything, but TV shows, I don't generally watch them until they're completely over, so I'm quite a few years behind on most TV shows. I did see they have a new Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It looks like it's for kids, but probably very expensively produced.
Is it animated or not?
No, it's not animated.
Okay.
It's live action, I think.
If it's for children, I probably won't watch it then.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the other Disney Star Wars TV shows, Boba Fett or any of those?
Yeah, I watched Boba Fett and Mandalorian.
Did you like those?
Mandalorian was good. I mean, Boba Fett was okay, but it wasn't as good as Mandalorian was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're on my eventual list. The other one, Alien Earth. So it's set in the Aliens universe. It's a TV show. So I really like, I don't want to say all of the Alien franchise. That would be untrue. Especially the Alien vs. Predator stuff is very not good. But TV show about aliens, I'll definitely check it out eventually.
Alien is just a bunch of people running away from a monster that's going to kill them. How many times can you watch the same?
I don't know if I completely agree with your assessment, but okay.
I'm not in horror as you are, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm more into sci-fi, I guess, than horror, and they oftentimes go hand in hand. So animated shows, there's I think the second season of Castlevania Nocturne coming out.
Yeah, I do want to watch that. The first one was really good.
Yeah, so I watched, there were 4 seasons of the original?
I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think there were 4 seasons. That was good. That was really good. I haven't watched the first season of the new one yet. I'll get around to it eventually.
I definitely like the art style. It's very unique.
Yeah, I'm not sure who animates that one. I haven't looked. The other one, The Witcher, Sirens of the Deep.
They make a new Witcher TV show? Or
Animated.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't heard anything about that.
So I haven't watched any of the Witcher TV show yet. I will definitely watch that probably in several years from now, but I will watch it. So the animated one, I'll watch that too. That was kind of interesting. The last one is a new anime, Lazarus. It's by Watanabe, who did Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. So, I mean, here's the bottom line. I'm going to watch anything the guy makes, right?
Both of those are phenomenal animes.
He also did Space Dandy, which I liked quite a bit. That was interesting. He's done a couple other things, but yeah. Anything the guy makes, I'm going to watch. I think that's all that I have. Is there anything else that you had?
They're making a Mass Effect TV show, which they could do it right, but also could go horribly wrong, depending on the plot and what they're going to do with it.
So they have lately done a pretty good job with video game TV shows, right? They have The Last of Us. I haven't watched that, but I've heard it's really good. Mm-hmm. The Fallout TV show, right? I heard that was really good. Mm-hmm. The Witcher. I haven't watched any of that. Is that good?
Yeah, I've watched the first 2 seasons. It's very good.
Henry Cavill. So they have 4 seasons now, or coming out with the 4th season. So I don't know if it's good the entire way, but so they've done a pretty good job so far. Hopefully they continue that. Do you know who's making it?
No, I don't. I
Saw it.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's one of these, if it's Netflix or something, they give it some outrageous budget, then hopefully it'll come out good.
And then they're also making the Warhammer stuff, but I don't know what's going on with that lately.
I have some expectations that some of these will actually be good now that they've figured out the formula.
Hopefully, I really enjoyed Mass Effect. I'm hoping the TV show is actually good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mass Effect is both of our, I think, probably favorite game series, right, on that list. So
Yeah.
I guess we're ready to talk about Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Yeah.
This is a Netflix anime based on, obviously, the game. It's animated by Studio Trigger. Studio Trigger was founded by Gainax employees. One of them, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Hiroyuki Imaishi. He did Gurren Lagann. Did you watch that?
No, but I've seen a lot about it.
That was quite popular. I didn't really like it myself. It wasn't quite for me. And a lot of the stuff that I don't want to say a lot of the stuff, but so Studio Trigger, they've also done Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, Promare. I haven't watched Promare or any of the newer stuff. I need to. Kill la Kill is very similar to Gurren Lagann. They were both really popular. Again, it wasn't really for me. It's very well produced. Both those TV shows are extremely well produced. And I think they do what they intend to do. So I don't have anything against them. But they did a superb job with Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Yeah, it was very, very good. Art direction, character stories, everything was top notch.
Studio Trigger has this kind of this frenetic style, like they're crazy, full of energy, and a lot of that carries over into this. Despite the fact that it's this ultra grim thing, it's still upbeat almost in a lot of cases.
Yeah, depending on how dark the story is. There are parts where it is like that.
Yeah, it's upbeat. It has a lot of energy for sure. You can feel Studio Trigger in this production, even though it's maybe not something they would have normally done. And I hope that, them working with Netflix, they made quite a bit of money and didn't have the normal crazy anime deadlines, right? Where people are like sleeping under desks, making less than the minimum wage and all the horrible industry stuff.
Yeah, hopefully with Netflix they were a little more lenient with that sort of thing.
Again, the show looks great. All the shots of the city, of course, I really like a lot. It all looks great. Everything's animated well. The fight scenes look good, right?
Yeah, the Sanderson effect I thought was really cool. Every time like he does it, it does like the after image thing,
Yeah.
which I thought looked super cool.
Yeah, they did a good job portraying it. The music in the show is good too, right? You have the rat boy who's ready for tomorrow. Remember, he walks out of his apartment or whatever, and it's like a montage through the city of people doing all the stuff that they do on the streets, apparently.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Masturbation and, thugs and all this kinds of stuff. That song fits really well. The Franz Ferdinand, This Fire, that one was the intro. So the intro, or after episode 1, that was the intro. That was really good. I liked that quite a bit. Let You Down was the ending. I don't know if you watched the music video for that, but there's another like little 3-minute, 4-minute story in that music video. Did you see that?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
I don't know. It was pretty neat. You should watch it. A girl's doing work for him. She's a net runner or whatever and breaks into a place. And there's a whole little story to that. It's pretty neat. They do a pretty good job with that in 3 minutes. I Really Want to Stay at Your House, that 80s poppy thing by Let's Eat Grandma is the name of the band.
But yeah, I mean, all the music was very good, and I feel like they definitely had someone who knew how to like the music to the tone of the scene.
I was kind of laughing, when he's fighting Atom Smasher, and it's this 80s pop tune.
I thought I enjoyed it more with that rather than like that deadly serious.
Yeah, I mean, it fit the scene well. It definitely fit the scene well, even though you wouldn't think it would normally. Did you watch this in English or Japanese?
Japanese.
Yeah, so did I. I did a little bit of the English, and I was like, no.
I don't know. Generally, I feel like Japanese, like I don't know what it is. It just feels like the tone and like how they deliver lines is better than English. But I don't know. I could be biased because I've watched anime for so long. Japanese, it's weird to go to English dub.
Yeah, there are very, very few English dubs that I like. Generally, I guess it's weird because a lot of times they have to try and fit the mouth movements into what they're saying, and they do the best they can, but it just seems unnatural. Where Maybe the Japanese is unnatural too, but I don't know because I don't speak Japanese. So it sounds better almost always, with very few exceptions.
Yeah.
I think maybe Cowboy Bebop I watched in English and I like it better in English, and maybe Cromartie High School. The English dub for that was really good.
There are some exceptions, but yeah, generally I just like Japanese dub better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The plot of this, it's about David Martinez, kind of a punk kid, but he's smart, and so his mom's trying to send him to an Arasaka, like, prep school, I guess it would be.
Yeah, but of course, being the poor kid against a bunch of like multi-billionaire freaking families and stuff, it's just like he gets bullied to the point of just like, yeah.
Yeah, obviously it goes south. And I mean, his mom is like working herself to death to send him to this school, and he doesn't really fit in, and he doesn't really want to be there. It's kind of a classical, the parent wants what's best for the kid, and the kid doesn't, necessarily appreciate it or want it in a way. I feel like it's a little different though, because in Night City, like, do you really have the luxury of, screwing this up?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's the way they portrayed of like, okay, like you said, the situation of like, does he really want this sort of thing? But it's just like, dude, after you just walking down the street and see what goes on, it's just like, this is what you want for the rest of your life? Like,
yeah, I mean, so, normally I would say you can't force your kids, right, to do things that they're not interested in, or they doesn't normally go well. But in this particular case, like, maybe you want to think about your long-term life choices and what's going on. I mean, he tries, right? He tries. It just, maybe he needs to try a little harder, but obviously it doesn't go well quite quickly. This show is grim and hyper-violent. People's heads are exploding, and the violence is so pervasive that it's just normal. Like it's a normal everyday thing for them. They don't really flinch at people dying and people getting hurt. Like, it's just a normal part of life for them almost.
in the scene where his mother gets shot, it is literally on the highway of gangsters shooting at like Arasaka, like executive or whatever, and no other cars are flipping out. Like no one else in any other cars is like, this shootout is happening on the freeway, and everyone's just like, I'm just going to work, whatever. Like, you'd think they'd be a little more frantic of like, oh hey, a stray bullet might hit me, maybe I should speed up or slow down to get away from them. But nope, it's just like all the cars are just perfectly moving along.
Which is interesting. I mean, remember in the game you were talking about how cars are like extremely impatient, like they're trying to run you off the road.
Yeah, I feel like you want to like go to like one of those activities where you like take over like a little gang section to like get something. You park your car in the street. More than once I've come back and you see the car just flip out and crashes into your car. And they, like, back up, crash into it, and just like try and get past you as fast as I can. It's an insane level.
They're like the most irritated, like road ragey drivers on the planet.
Yeah. Like more than once I've got hit by a car because like I was standing in the road and I was just looking at my menu or something, and then yeah, they try to run me over.
It's super hyper violent, but again, you're kind of numb to that. The opening scene, we see I don't remember what that guy's name is, the military guy, but we see him just murder all those cops, and then he gets smoked by Max Tack afterwards.
Yeah, in that time, it's before the game, and they haven't fully, like, I wouldn't say perfected, but like made cyberpsychosis a lot less like prevalent, to where it's like a significant risk to use cyberware at that point, because it's like numerous characters in the show go cyberpsychosis. It's like in the game, it's like you have those sightings or whatever, but I mean that's like 30 people in a city of millions who actually has this happen. Where it's like in the freaking show, it's every character is becoming cyber psycho. It's like ridiculous level.
I don't remember if I asked you this. Did you try out the mantis arm things in the game?
I at least tried every weapon just to see what it was like, but I mean, I really didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't slot them. I didn't actually try them. But he uses them in that scene to impale people or eviscerate them or whatever. And then after that scene, it cuts to David, right? He's watching a brain dance of that.
Which, yeah, so you're going to watch like someone's memory of him killing a bunch of guys? I don't know. That just feels a little ridiculous.
Yeah, listen, it's an internet thing, right? We grew up in that 4chan, watch the most terrible kind of thing. And I mean, we're getting there probably pretty quickly. Something similar to brain dances, right? Or where you can watch or experience, you'll plug electrodes into your brain and experience something which will almost certainly be used overwhelmingly for pornography.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
I wonder what it's going to do to the birth rate. Like, there's just going to be a massive decline in birth rate as soon as they release plug the electrodes into my brain and I can experience sex.
Yeah, I don't know.
No one's ever going to leave the house. Well, and it's pretty prevalent in this show too, right? The doctor guy is all over the porn, and like David walks out on the street and people have the masturbator things, which by the way already exist.
Yes.
They have the things like you could plug it into your computer and program it to work alongside whatever video. So that will only evolve.
Yeah, I mean, porn is big money. Like, it will never end.
Yeah, that's what drives a lot of things, right? I think the internet was probably driven quite a bit by pornography. All this technology, we might get to a point at some point in time where it's like we have to force people to breed. Hopefully not in my lifetime, but the first episode is, like you said, on the freeway. So the very first episode, they have that gang fight on the freeway. Mom gets super injured and has to go to the hospital. But I like trauma team, which is armed ambulance people, basically.
Yeah.
in this show. That portion of it is maybe a little far-fetched, but the portion of it where they check her insurance to see if they can rescue her, it's kind of scary how close to speculative fiction we're starting to get here. I don't think any time in the near future we'll be at a point where an ambulance can pass by a burning car and just leave someone to die. But it's a little scary. We might be headed that direction at some point in time.
Yeah, it's scary level where it's just like, oh, you don't have insurance? Sorry, you're just going to die, I guess. Whatever.
They just completely pass her up, this gang war. Like, there is no normal ambulance in this universe, right? It's just trauma team.
Yes.
I like how the hospital that they take her to as well looks like you're going to get a staph infection just from walking in the door.
Yeah, I was just like, this is a hospital? It's like, it has to be sterilization.
It was like the most grimy place. Like, you might be better off on the street if they're operating on you.
Yeah.
These people never heard of bacterial infections? Like, Jesus, man. Everything is this capitalistic kind of dystopia, right? Yeah. Corporations own everything. People are struggling to pay rent, which is like, this is not speculative fiction anymore. This is a real thing. The prices of housing has gone through the roof,
yes,
right?
Very much so.
And some of that has to do with demand. But listen, when we start allowing investor-owned hedge funds, venture capital, like any of these organizations that are owned by investors to buy up residential housing, we're asking for trouble. This is a late-stage capitalism type thing. Capitalism as a system is not necessarily better or worse than any other system. It still needs checks and balances. One of those checks and balances maybe should be that people's living situations shouldn't be in the hands of people who are strictly shareholders or investors. I also like they're in his apartment and he needs to add credit to the washing machine to use the washing machine in their apartment.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, how worse can it get? So you have to pay in your own apartment that you're supposed to rent or whatever. You can't even use the wash.
Well, and the other thing is like, okay, I'm on board. I get the, all right, you're going to charge me extra. I have to add credit to my washing machine in order to wash clothes. Okay. Can the credit maybe work in increments that doesn't end in the middle of a fucking washing cycle? Come on, man.
Yeah, I was just like, I guess it incentivizes people to pay more, I guess.
Like, wouldn't you, if you met the guy who designed it so that you could end in the middle of a washing cycle, like, I'm going to bash this dude's head in. I'm going to run him over with a car. Like, you're a terrible human being.
And you notice the look of his apartment is the same as the one you get in the game?
Yeah, yep. So then his mom is in the hospital. He goes to school. He gets his ass kicked at school. And then they call him after they told him, like, oh, your mom's going to be all right, and tell him, Hey, by the way, your mom's dead.
Yeah, I was just like, this can't be a doctor because there's like rules about how you're
His
supposed to.
bedside
Yeah,
manner.
yeah, about how you're supposed to deliver bad news or whatever. You're just like, oh, sorry, she's dead. Okay, click, move on.
Well, and then it just spits her out, like it cremates her and just spits her out in a canister like a vending machine almost. I don't know, man. It's almost not describable how impersonal and just detached it is.
It feels like at a certain point, it's just like, well, this is just about doing a number. Okay, this is 10,407 freaking person. Let's just keep going.
Well, and the crazy thing too is that after that, he's not hysterical. And I mean, you can tell he's depressed about it, but he's not like it doesn't seem to affect his thinking so much that he can't function, right? He almost after he gets home is like, it's time to go about the rest of my life almost already.
I mean, grief hits people differently, and I feel like some people just don't really register. Like, okay, in your mind that they're gone, but it's just like the reality of like they're really gone doesn't hit them yet.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. You're right. I don't think that's the case here. I almost get the impression that this world is so fucked up that it's such a normal thing. Not necessarily that he expected it, but he was prepared for it. He's so prepared for it and used to this kind of thing, it just doesn't faze him as much as you would expect it to faze a teenager.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess if it's just in society, if you grew up, it was like this is the norm. I guess you have to prepare yourself.
Maybe it's just his personal reaction, and maybe you're right. But the impression that I got is just this world is so awful. It's just another day. Like it's just another day. Goes on about his business. So after that, he ends up slotting the Sandevistan that he gets. There's a bit of suspension of disbelief in the way that they slot all this cyberware in people. Or they just bring you in and cut your nervous system open and cut your spine open. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, don't they have a machine to help you like do that, so you're not actually like doing it yourself the whole time, sort of thing?
I mean, if we're talking about like modern medical science, you know what I mean? They've progressed to the point where you can just go to some back alley doctor and have him like cut your back open and install this thing on your spine. They have creative license, but I just thought it's kind of funny. They go in and like cuts him up and just here, put this thing in your mouth and bite down. So afterwards, he meets Lucy and they have a moon date and. It gets all personal and they play that 80s pop tune song again and everything seems hunky-dory. And then her friends show up and he gets his face broken.
Yeah.
She betrays him and Maine just kind of breaks his face like, you stole my Sandevistan, dick. And after that, the rest of the story, we see it focuses on David basically losing his humanity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the story's about.
Yeah, he slots more and more cyberware to like be a better mercenary, whatever solo you want to say. Slowly gets further away from his humanity by doing it.
Yeah, and so listen, this is kind of what I wanted to see with the actual Cyberpunk game. Now I get they were kind of going for a different story and you're a human and at the risk of dying or whatever and someone else taking over your humanity potentially. So I understand kind of why they couldn't go that direction. If you give me another game, if you give me a sequel, this is what I want from it. I want them to pursue this theme of losing your humanity over cyberware. That was largely missing from the game, and that's what I want from this universe.
Just thinking about like in a video game, you're supposed to play. How do you really like do that? It's just like story points that it slowly goes away. Like how would you?
I think you could easily do that. Almost the same way that they set up this the anime. You start slotting cyberware, you become a mercenary in order to, keep up and do missions. If you don't slot cyberware, then you're going to die. So you got to slot the cyberware, and as you slot it, you start losing your humanity. So they can easily put it into the story of, you don't have to slot this cyberware, but if you don't, you're not going to be able to complete the game. And so as you slot the cyberware, you start to lose your humanity. I think that would make an awesome game. It's an awesome story, and that ties in gameplay into the story.
Yeah, it could be interesting, like function, but I mean, how hard would the game be without any cyberware? You just have like a normal weapon. You gotta be a normal guy against people who like are the Flash or
exactly
really a tank.
Yeah, that's the point. So if you make the game like that, where you have to slot cyberware, you're literally tying in the gameplay into the story. I think that would be a pretty awesome game. either way, I mean, even if they, they didn't do that, I want more of that theme pursued. I want to see more of the turning yourself into a cyborg, essentially, and losing your humanity. So whether it's the character that you play in a game or, whatever, I don't care. I want this explored more. This is the theme that's interesting to me about this world. I like how in episode 3, when he's driving that car and there's just like the wacky physics of the car that's like bouncing over the intersection wall, and then remember he steals the car and he's driving it, and it bounces over the median and the
Oh yeah.
like the wacky physics, and then they have the fight scene or whatever. That to me has Trigger written all over it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's just a little like, okay, this is kind of weird, bro. It's just like, let's go with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a Studio Trigger thing, I think. I also like how in episode 4 he's doing like the montage of exercising, and it shows him doing push-ups in the shower, and I'm like, why are you exercising in the shower?
Yeah, that was weird. I was like, wouldn't you do it before, then take a shower?
Yeah, I'm like, you've done this. Like, why are we exercising in the shower? You're kind of out of order here, dude. Like, if you wanted to give me the naked shower scene, do the normal dramatic leaning up against the wall or something or whatever you do. Like, I don't need to see you doing push-ups in the shower. Just weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It was strange.
Like, use a gym, dude. What I do want to talk about is episode 6. So episode 6 is my favorite episode of the show, and it might be one of my favorite episodes of anime in general. Like, we see Main and he's breaking down, right? He's got the shakes and his eyes are doing the weird thing that they show to show that people are like going cyber psycho and stuff. And then he attacks Kiwi, and Dorio is like, after we're done with this, you go light spec. Like, you need to dial it back, man. You're losing your shit here. And he basically ignores her, like, and shrugs it off. And even, David tries to tell him, like, hey, what's going on, kind of. And he dick to David. And it almost strikes me as like drug addict behavior, right?
Yeah, you don't really like, people tell you there's a problem, but you're like, oh, I can handle it. It's not a problem. And then you realize too late. It's like, now you're addicted and you can't get out of it.
Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting parallel. Is like, obviously he's losing his humanity, so it's almost a little more dire of a circumstance, especially because he can hurt people. But it draws a lot of parallels to drug use, right? People are trying to tell him, they're trying to intervene, he's ignoring them, and he's going off the deep end, and it's past the point of no return. And so they bring in David and Lucy to kind of finish up, and shit just goes south, right? It goes south pretty quick. Dorio ends up getting shot, and Main just loses his shit. She dies, and he's off the deep end. Like, you get that picture of that guy's face that looks like a rubber mask that's just plastered on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and they draw it in some pretty, they do all the, like, heads exploding and stuff in this anime pretty in detail. That guy's face that's just plastered on the wall is gruesome. And then the shot after that of Main, just this hellscape of a person, is so awesome. Like, it's the embodiment of psychosis at that point. This is a psychopath, like, covered in blood and this crazy look. Like, it's fucking awesome. I don't know that you could have drawn a better representation of this dude has lost it.
Yeah, I definitely was like, wow.
Yeah, that drawing, whoever drew that, man, awesome job. Like, after that, he just murders all of those cops. He loses it. He's like, is this my fault? And then just gruesomely kills all of them. And David, wants to go and help him. He's talking to Lucy, and Lucy's like, shit's hit the fan. It's over. Like, we need to go. And he's like, he doesn't want to leave him behind. So he goes back to help. And he runs across Main, and Main has become lucid at this point. And he's, David's like, come on, we got to get out of here. And Main's like, listen, dude, my time's up. The Reaper's coming for me. He understands what's going on. And so David's like, all right, well, I'll stay and fight with you. There's 15-second long stretch of just a static screen of David, and he's sweating. And in the background, you can hear Max Tack landing. It went on for so long, I almost thought the video was frozen. I don't know if you remember that, but
I remember the part where he's sweating, but I guess I don't remember the time.
Yeah, so it's like an eternity. It's like 15 seconds of a static screen, and David is he's sweating, and you can hear in the background as Max Tack is landing. And so, like, it just builds this nervousness, and you're like, what's going to happen, right? Max Tack is going to end things. Like I said, I thought the video was frozen until like 15 seconds later, Maine finally tells him like, it's time to run. You need to run. And then Max Tack they kick in all the doors and they just annihilate Maine. They roast him.
They got to have some level of like protection of like, okay, we can't deal with this person who's augmented. We need to send in the best. Which, yeah, I'm assuming all the Max Stack guys have the most like, top of the line.
Yeah, they're like military, right? They're military, and they're also, the game hints at the fact that these guys are all basically like cyber psychos themselves. They burst down the door and they just fry him. The next scene, we see David, and he's holding Maine's giant hand in his arm. And they start driving away. And so he's in the car, he's holding his hand. It's completely silent except for just the sound of the truck. And it pans to the back, and you see the back is empty, right? So they're telling you no one else made it. It's just us. And it pans back to David. A single tear runs down his eye. You can see he's completely fried, and it silently cuts to credits. Man, it's fucking perfect. It is such an emotional gut punch. The direction of that is phenomenal. It's phenomenally directed. That silent cut to credits with just the truck sound after that single tear. Man, there is no better way that you could have directed that scene and that whole episode. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love that episode. It's great.
I thought it was very good. I remember the emotional pause, like in the truck or whatever. Yeah, I thought that was really good.
The direction in that is top-notch. It's just awesome. It's absolutely awesome. After that, episode 7, David's in charge now. The new kid, Julio, he dies. He does something stupid and dies. And again, I think after so many of their teammates have died, right, like they're not attached to this kid at all. He dies, and, they're kind of like, they sigh about it, it sucks or whatever, but they move on. It's just another day almost.
Yeah, I feel like just, after losing most of your old team, it's just like, can I really get attached to these people? Because I'm afraid like they're going to die and I'm going to go through the same thing all over again.
I do like in that episode, Lucy takes him out of the city. Do you remember that? And they're like sitting on top of the car or whatever.
Yeah.
She starts talking about Bart Moss, and all I could think is, he's down the road in a freezer. Just go open it up. Like there's Bart Moss soup. You're like 100 feet away from the guy, and you don't even know it. He's Bart Moss soup in a freezer.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, I didn't know, I know they're in that area, but I didn't know how close they were or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know, but I thought it was funny. I was thinking the whole time. That's all I could think, because she starts talking about Bart Moss, and I'm like, I have the answer. I know where he's at.
Considering the show, well, then they would know where he was in the game or whatever. So, yeah, I'm assuming they did it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. She starts talking about Bart Moss out there, and I'm like, just walk down the street. You can find some really good loot on his corpse. The next episode, we can see David starts cracking, right? And he's losing it. And they go to that doctor and get the pills, right? And the doctor tells him, like, after you're done with these pills, you're done. You thought you were special, and maybe you had a higher tolerance than most normal people, and you pushed it, but you pushed it too far. You're at the point of no return. And he gives him these pills, right? And it's heartbreaking, right? Because you watch him going down the same path that Maine did. Like, you went through this with Maine. Like, what are you doing, man?
In the game, they talk about, live old and no one remembers your name, or you go out in blaze of glory, which, I mean, in the game, David Martinez, not at first because he wasn't introduced yet, but I mean, later on in the story, talk about it. He's one of the main guys, or what, and plus, so far in, it's okay, what would really happen if I just stepped away now? What would I do with my life? I don't have anything else.
Well, that's the thing. He has Lucy. I get it. He wants to make a name for himself. He wants to be something. He wants to kind of show his mom, right, that he did something, that kind of wants to avenge Maine and live up to that or whatever. But it's dude, they're dead. They're dead, man. Take the people that you still have alive. Do something with them. Lucy is obviously trying to get him to stop, and he's just not. Again, it's almost like a drug addict, right? He's past that point, and he's not listening. And he doesn't care that the doctor tells him, you are done after this, man. You're done. You're not coming back. The next episode, you see him get into that cyber skeleton, and then it's really not only is he mentally losing his humanity, But we physically see him get everything but his torso and his head chopped off to get into this cyber skeleton.
When you realize, like, at a certain point, it's like, okay, I've gone too far. You don't even have limbs anymore. I feel like even like a crazy person's gonna realize this is too far.
Yeah, like you've chopped off the lower half of your body and your arms. You're a torso and a head. I mean, he does it, like out of desperation, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like he was going to do it even if that didn't happen. It's literally pumping drugs into him, like to keep him stable and sane. It's pretty jarring. It's pretty crazy. The last episode, it ends kind of how you would expect for the most part. It kind of sucked. Rebecca died. She just gets annihilated by Adam Smasher. Like he just lands on her and just squashes her.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that was like the worst death I've seen. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't know that it was the worst death in this show even, but yeah, it was. I mean, at least it went quick. Still, it was kind of sucked. Actually, Rebecca was probably my favorite character of the show. She's the typical like tsundere character, but she's the tsundere like psychopath.
Yeah, I really like that.
Like she enjoys killing people. She enjoys what she does. But it does, they do a good job of showing a vulnerable side of her too, right? She cares about David. She's obviously in love with David and handles that pretty well, which I thought was cool. I liked her character a lot. I think she's definitely my favorite.
I like how they really try and drive home Adam Smasher is no joke, yo. Like he's one of the top people for a reason.
Yeah.
And just drive that home of like absolutely decimating those people by himself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you watch David in this cyber skeleton, like take out an entire, military platoon or whatever it happens to be, an entire brigade of tanks and all this other stuff. When you watch Adam Smasher take David on by himself, you're like, this dude is no joke. It does a good job, adding gravity to the terror that Adam Smasher is. And I kind of like that scene where he's in Arasaka, he's just sitting on the couch in Arasaka, kind of in the background waiting.
Honestly, I saw that and I was like, honestly thought of like the Borg, where it's just like, are you in an assembly line waiting sort of things? So I just be, on a rack somewhere waiting when they need me, just go ahead.
I mean, they kind of they request him to, go where he wants or whatever, but they kind of let him run loose to an extent to cause terror and mayhem. Who was your favorite character in this?
Probably Rebecca, yeah, because just the whole, like, her personality and then just her, like, absolutely, like, enjoyment of killing was insane level. I was like, dude, this character is like, what?
Yeah, she was pretty awesome. I liked her quite a bit. I mean, the story, we already kind of know how it ends, right? David dies, Adam Smasher kills him. I liked it quite a bit. Let's do a rating. I think I want to rate stuff that we watch on a star scale. So let's do it on a scale of 5 stars.
Okay.
Half stars are okay.
4.5 or 5. I mean, like, for the length, for the story, the character, I thought it was all exceptional. I mean, it didn't feel like it dragged on, and it didn't feel like, oh, they just had to, like, one scene to another, bam, 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 just get it done. So it's like the length was good. The like character development, the story of bringing up, it's just a crappy way of life. But like you said, it's just everything is normal to these people. Like horrible things happen, and it's just normal. It's like you barely blink and you just move on because it's like the way the world works. They portrayed that perfectly, and yeah, it was really good. So 4.5 or 5, I can't really decide.
Yeah, you're gonna bounce.
Yeah.
4.75. God, we're gonna throw you out.
Yeah.
I agree, man. The pacing in this was great. Studio Trigger did a phenomenal job. They explored, the themes of humanity very well. They did a great job showing, like, this is how capitalism wrecks the fucking world when you let it get out of control. Everything about it was great. I'm going to say 4.5 stars. I don't know that it's one of my favorite per se overall. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Episode 6, man, was just fucking awesome, though. God, they did such a great job with that. And you're at 4.75, so you've already broken the goddamn scale. Oh, it's the first time we used it. Good job.
That's couldn't decide. I don't know.
All right, that's fair. I threw that on you. All right, I think we can call this a wrap. You got anything else?
No.
Before I forget, next week, let's do a movie. I haven't seen that new Alien movie. You good? You want to watch that?
Okay.
I don't even remember the damn name of the thing now. Is it Alien Romulus? Crap. That's a Star Trek It's terrible. I'm awful at this. Oh, I guess it is Alien Romulus. Ah, yeah, Alien Romulus. Let's watch that.
Okay.
All right, later, man.
Yep. But yeah, you did change the rating scale, like, out of nowhere. I was like, okay, like, I don't have much time to think about it.
I got a fucking chalkboard so we can put scores on there, like so people can actually see them, and then anybody fucking chalk.
What?
What do you got?
What game that's in?
I'll figure out which. I don't think they say which one's right and which one's left. I think the right one is R, or red rather.
I do. It's right there.
What? Where?
Right there in the black.
Motherfucker. I fucking looked everywhere for that and couldn't find it. It's like so tiny and small.